The Premier stopped in Nanaimo today and brought with her the good news that many people have been waiting for. Christy Clark announced that the province is going to invest $7.5 million for improvements to the E&N Railway to restore passenger service. The E&N Dayliner, the Bud car, has been sitting idle since March because the line is a mess, not safe enough to carry passengers. The Island Corridor Foundation says the funding from the province puts the improvement project back on track, but it will need equal help from the federal government before the trains roll again. A News Mid-Island Bureau Chief Jonathan Bartlett has the story. He joins us now live in our Nanaimo newsroom. Jonathan.
Hudson, the Island Corridor Foundation says a total of $15 million is needed to get the E&N Railway back up to snuff for passenger service to run again between Courtenay and Victoria. The province is on board, but what about the feds? The Premier arrived in Nanaimo by train, an appropriate entrance, given what she's about to announce. Christy Clark is in Nanaimo to make a funding announcement affecting Vancouver Island passenger rail service. The Island Corridor Foundation asked the federal and provincial governments for $15 million to get the service back on track.
Today, in response to that request, I am delighted to announce that the province will meet it and provide $7.5 million in funding to the Island Corridor Foundation. It's really important for people on the island to have this passenger service for tourism, but also for freight. And we want to do what we can to try and preserve it and see if it can work.
Passenger service on the E&N has been cancelled since March. Via Rail's Bud cars sit shrouded in tarps in this Nanaimo rail yard. The railway infrastructure between Victoria and Courtenay needs upgrading badly.
$15 million will allow us to replace approximately 104,000 ties, virtually from Courtenay to Victoria. It'll allow a fair amount, about $2.5 million worth of ballast work along the trackage, and $500,000 for an engineering audit of our many bridges along the corridor.
$500,000 of today's contribution will pay for that audit, but the remaining $7 million hinges on the federal government.
We have this challenge. We just went through this democratic exercise just a couple of months ago, reassembled government in record time. And of course, we have a new minister, new staff, and of course, they had other things like passing the budget that was sort of important. But we're working on it, and we hope to be able to come across in short order.
If they do, passenger service could be back up and running this fall with a new schedule, one that many Vancouver Islanders feel is the right direction, leaving Nanaimo every morning for Victoria, with an additional run to Courtenay later in the day.
That's our plan. We've got some work to do with Via Rail to encourage them to make that change and to run a limited service while we get the rest of the rail done.
After 125 years, it looks like we're finally getting it right. There'll be 2 trains in the morning going to Victoria, and with the upgrading that's going to take place, the rail is back.
It's hoped with the new schedule and reliable freight service, the E&N will once again become a viable railway. $15 million is just the start. It's estimated over $100 million needs to be invested into the E&N Railway over the next 10 years. But if it's once again viable with new freight customers and a schedule that works, it could one day be sustainable. That's the hope anyway. Hudson?
All right, Jonathan Bartlett reporting. Jonathan, thanks.
Thank you.